What is up, guys? Pac-Man does MTG here, bringing you another Magic the Gathering deck tech. This time I made a deck of Esper, which if you guys don't know what Esper is, it is black, white, blue. And I made it mainly kind of control-ish. It's got a little bit of kind of everything, I guess. Mainly control, though. So let's go ahead and get right into this deck, and we'll start it off with our land base, as we always do. I have 4 of the Evolving Wilds. This is a basic land base, and we have a playset of Evolving Wilds, which you can tap to search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So these are useful because we get that shuffle, we get that basic land out if we need it. So I have a playset of that, and then of course we just have the rest of the deck with basic lands. We have 7 of the swamp lands, 7 of the island lands, and then we only have 6 of the plains lands. Now, the reason why I have 6 plains lands is because this deck really does consist a bit more on black and blue, so we don't really need as much plains as we do our islands. Now, yes, the land base could be much better, do not get me wrong, but the land base is basic. It doesn't come in tapped. You don't have to worry about that. You can get dual lands that don't come in tapped, I understand. But that's mainly just our basic land base. It's 24 lands, 4 Evolving Wilds, and 20 basic lands. So, I mean, it works out in my opinion. I mean, you can really do whatever you want with the land base. Look up other deck techs, try to find their land bases, and maybe cooperate it with my deck, depending on what you want to do. I don't really care. But that's just what I'm rolling for now because it works for me. So now let's get into the creatures. Creatures are, we have 2 of the Returned Phalanx. Now these are really good cards in my opinion. For 1 black and 1, you get a 3/3 defender, but you can also make him tap 1 blue and 1 to make him be able to attack the turn as if it didn't have defender. So you get a 3/3 for 2 mana, which in my opinion is fantastic. So why would you not have this? I mean, it's a really good card in my opinion. And I have 2 of those. I would try having more, but I don't have any more in my deck, or on me, I mean, in my card collection. So, I have 2. Same goes with the Therebin Heretic, and I always like to keep my cards at either 2 and or 4. I don't like having 3 all the time. I can usually run 3, it depends on what the deck has, but I don't like having 3 or 1 of, and it depends on what the card is. So, I only have 2 those because I figured it's better to just have it at 2. Now let's get back into our next cards. We have 2 of the Therebin Heretics. These are 1 white and 1. You get a 2/2 that you can tap to exile target creature card from a graveyard. The reason this guy's in here is for that control factor. You can get rid of cards, making them not be able to return back to the game. So that's why he's in here, because honestly I feel like if you remove cards from game, you got a pretty good control advantage, and it's a 2/2 for 2. It's not terrible, but it's not, you know, of course, the best card we can have. This is still a very good card, though. Now I have another one in here that I do want to have 2 of, but I don't have 2 on me, so I only have 1 of him. But the reason why I got him in here is because I recently pulled this card, and this card's actually very good, in my opinion, for being an uncommon of the Shadows over Innistrad set. The Uninvited Geist is 1 blue and 2. He has Skulk, so the creature can't be blocked by creatures with a greater power. And then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you transform him. He's a 2/2 starting off. And then his backside becomes the Unimpeded Trespasser, which is a 3/3 that can't be blocked. So this is also a foil that I pulled. I actually enjoy the art on it. It's pretty cool art. And then the foil is always nice to have a foil. So got me a foil Uninvited Geist in there, but 1 Uninvited Geist of any type, it doesn't matter. I also have 1 of these. Now, honestly, this card I think is really, really good for mainly the aggro-ish base of the deck. It's not actually an aggro deck at all. It has very little creature base. But I've also recently updated the creature base in this deck, so it's at like 14 creatures, I think, which it originally had 12. So I put in 2 more creatures, hopefully that'll help out. But so let's go on with the next card I drew recently, actually. Drana, Liberator of Malachar. 1 black, 2 black, and 1. It has a flying and first strike, 2/3, that whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So this awesome vampire gives you all of your stuff +1/+1s. Now, honestly, looking at this, I'm thinking this card is fantastic, and I wouldn't mind getting some of these from my mono black vampire deck. But this is a very good card, and I have it in there because of the fact of what it does. It boosts up our creatures whenever it boosts up our attacking creatures, and it boosts up itself. So that's why I have this card in here. This is a very good card, and I wouldn't mind having 2 of these either, but they're a mythic rare maybe? I don't know, what's that rarity to you guys? Mythic rare? I can't tell because I'm colorblind. It's either a rare or mythic rare, but yeah, this is a fantastic card. I believe it's a mythic, but whatever. Next creatures. We have 2 of the, another for control factor, we have 2 of the Frost Links. These are always good. For 1 blue and 2, we get to have a 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield, you tap a target creature an opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during its next untap step. So you get to keep a creature tapped for a turn, which is always great. So, yeah. This is always useful for control as well. Then we have our hitters. What I mean by hitters is that they're mainly gonna get through for the most part, unless your opponent is running rogues, which a lot of opponents don't run anymore. We've got a playset of these bad boys because you got to have a playset of these, in my opinion. I love this card. If you're running black-blue, these are really good black-blue cards. 4 of the Death Cult Rogues, for either 1 blue or black, or for either a blue or a black, or 2 black or 2 blue, and 1, you can have a 2/2 that can't be blocked except by rogues. So I have 4 of these bad boys, and it's pretty self-explanatory why I got them in there. They're good hitters. Not only that, with our vampire that I recently showed, all of them will get +1/+1s and just get bigger and not be able to be blocked. Depending on if that vampire does combat damage to a player, though, but it does have flying, so it's kind of easy to get some combat damage in there unless they're rolling a flying deck. So let's get in with our last creatures of the little bit I have. We have our Balustrade Spies. These are again for a control factor. For 1 black and 3, you get a 2/3 flyer that whenever it enters the battlefield, the opponent must mill until they find a land card, then put it in their graveyard. All the cards that was showed in their graveyard. So this is a very good card to mill out your opponents in some aspects, unless of course their next card is a land, then you're only milling them 1 land, which kind of sucks. But I've had moments where this can get some really good mill power in there. So this is why that's in there. Let's also go in with our next card. Our next card being a mythic rare Planeswalker from the Shadows over Innistrad set that I just recently drew. Sauron Grim Nemesis. This card, holy crap! For 1 black, 1 white, and 4, you get to +1 to reveal the top card of your deck, put it in your hand, and each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. For -X, we get to deal X damage to a creature and or a planeswalker and gain X life. For -9, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read this. For -9, we put a number of 1/1 black vampire knight tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield equal to the highest life total among all players. That card is ridiculous. And it starts off with a 6 royalty. Now for 6 mana, I understand it's pretty beefy planeswalker, but this card is fantastic. As soon as you get 6 mana out, you got a great planeswalker to run, and I was happy to draw this guy. He may not be worth that much for the Shadows over Innistrad set, I'm not sure, but I like this card, and I put it in my black-white-blue because it was in my black-white, but I already have a Sauron in my black-white, so there were 2 different Saurons in my black-white. This guy, and then one from Concept Tarkir Sauron's, from Tarkir, but this is a fantastic planeswalker. I enjoy this planeswalker. And then we get into our instants. So instants are going to be a big part of this deck because we are focusing on control, which control is needed with mainly your spells. Now, I don't have many board wipe stuff, let alone really, I mean, it's control, but it's not the best control Esper that you could get out there. So let's just go in. We have two of the God's Willings. These are easy, great cards. 1 white mana, you get to have a creature gain protection from the color of your choice until the end of the turn, and scry 1. So you get that creature protection from whatever they're trying to do, and be like, okay, now I get to look at the top card, decide if I want to put it at the bottom of the top, which is always useful. So 2 of those, God's Willings, those are very good cards to have in my opinion. And then we have our blue cards coming in. We have 2 of the Voyages End. This is again for control. 1 blue, 1. You get to return the target creature to its owner's hand and then scry as well. So more scry power and returning creatures to their hand to get them out of the way for a turn, and or maybe even counter them on the next turn, because if you have a cancel in hand, you can counter it. So that's why that's in there. And then we have 2 of the Anticipates, just to kind of help with our draw power in a way. For 1 blue and 1, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 of them into your hand, 1 of them on top of your deck, and 1 on the bottom. So that's just kind of to like shuffle up your top 3, really, in a way. This is a good card though, I like it a lot actually. So 2 of those. And then we have our main little other control aspects of the deck. We have our cancels. 4 of these guys, of course. For 2 blue and 1, we get to counter a target spell. So you can counter a spell. That's pretty self-explanatory. That's why they're in there, because of control. So 4 of those. Then we get into our kill spells of black. We have 2 of the Grisly Spectacle. These are in here because, again, for control. 2 black and 2, we get to destroy a target non-artifact creature, and the controller puts a number of cards equal to that creature's power into his or her graveyard from the top of his or her library. So we get to mill out our opponent with their power and kill the creature, which is, I love this card. For 2 of these, for 2 black and 2, is not bad in my opinion. So these are in the deck for the mill. And then we go in with our other cards here. We have 2 of the Silver Strikes. These are in here because of that gain life and destroying creatures. So 1 white and 3, we get to destroy a target attacking creature and then gain 3 life. That's kind of self-explanatory. Again, life gain and destroying creatures. Destroying creatures is a big part of our, of course, control. So we have that in there. Now we get into our sorceries. Sorceries are completely different in this deck. This is actually a very good card, though. I like it a lot. We have 2 of the Shamble Back. This really is pretty good. You get to exile a target creature card from a graveyard, removing it from the game, of course. And then we get to put a 2/2 black zombie on our field, and then we get to gain 2 life. This kind of helps us with our very little creature base in the deck. These can... Now, I'm thinking of putting a playset of these in, but I'm not sure 100%. I have 4 of them. I could put a playset of these in and have that little boost in our creatures, kind of with the token producement, but I'm not too worried about it. I really think that 2 is perfectly enough. So we have 2 of these guys because they help us gain some life, help us get rid of cards from the game that are creatures that are pesky if they're in the graveyard, and then they give us a 2/2 zombie to have out on the field. So this is a very good card to have. Also, we have our Chaplain's Blessings. For 1 white, we get to gain 5 life. Always useful. Helped me out a lot in some of these games I've recently played with this deck. I tap 1 white, gain 5. I believe this card actually saved me and made me win the game. Yeah, this card won me the game. Because of the fact I was low on health and I gained the 5, and the 5 really can make a difference later on. So I gained the health, and then I ended up coming back with my control aspects of destroying creatures and killing stuff. So this is a very good card to have for just keeping you in the game that much longer. So these are in there for that purpose, and for life gain, even if you want to early on have an extra little bit of life, why not? For draw power, we have 2 of the Divinations, of course. I mean, 1 blue and 2, you get to draw 2 cards. Why would you not want that? I mean, the new cards are Weave Fate and Inspiration, which are for 4 to draw 2, which, in my opinion, is ridiculous. I would much rather have a Divination. I know it's out of date. I know these won't work in tournaments on some aspects, probably, actually, a lot of aspects. I think they're out of date on tournaments, but I don't care. This isn't really a tournament deck, so 1 and 2 I can draw 2, and you can pay 1 and 3 and draw 2. Like, you're paying 4. That's ridiculous in my opinion for 2 cards. Maybe for 3 cards, 4 would work. 5 for Jace's Ingenuity, but either way, Divination I like more than the newer reprints of the 2-card draw cards stuff. So Divinations, I have 2 of them. Let's also go in with our board wipe. I use that term lightly because if you're playing giant creatures, this isn't going to do shit. But lately, this card I love. A lot of people don't see its potential. Actually, everybody sees its potential. What am I talking about? Languish. 2 of these bad boys because I don't have any more. If I had a playset, I'd have a playset in here. But these guys, I haven't bought singles of them. I will probably end up buying singles of them and getting 2 more. But to be honest, this is my board wipe. For 2 black and 2, we get to give all creatures a -4/-4 until end of turn. So we get to wipe the board with the 4/4 creatures and below. So these are really good because of the fact that they are going to get rid of some creatures for us. So yes, a Languish. Languishes are fun. Then we get into our enchantments. We're at the end of this. There are 4 enchantments in the deck, and they're basically based on control. We have 2 of the Vessels of Parmenesia. I don't know if I said that right, but 1 blue, 1, you get a enchantment that you can tap 1 blue to sacrifice, have a target player up at top 3 in his graveyard, and then draw a card of your own. So this is good for 1 little draw and a couple of mill. That's always great to have. Some mill is good for control, in my opinion. I don't have a lot of mill, and I really wish I had more mill in this deck, being the fact that it is control. Mill and exile and destroy. Really, I wish I had more, and I wish I had better creatures, but this is what I have for now, and I hope you guys enjoy this deck. I ran it. It's not terrible. It runs well. I've won games with it already, so it's not bad. And then we have the pacifisms. Of course, for 1 white and 1, you get to enchant a creature, and the enchanted creature can't attack or block. So that's obviously self-explanatory. It keeps them at bay. More control. So that is the Esper deck that I recently made. Basically based on control. It's a very low budget, probably, except for maybe Sauron and where is she? That one vampire that I showed, I can't remember her name. Daria or something. Let me look at her. Jesus. Can't believe I can't remember it, but yeah, Sauron and Dara, maybe, if I can find her. Jesus Christ. There she is. Drana, Liberator of Malachor. Those 2 cards may be a bit on the expensive side. I wouldn't even say they're really expensive, but they're probably a little bit pricey, maybe. I think Drana might be, I don't know, I'll have to look it up. But yeah, so those are the only 2 cards that I really have any problem with money in it. But other than that, I think the whole deck is pretty cheap. I mean, basic lands, you all probably have plenty of basic lands to run with this deck. 7 black, 7 blue, and 6 white. And then you probably have the amount of Evolving Wilds too, because they're commons. So 4 Evolving Wilds, that's your land base. But yeah, so that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know my videos have been getting a lot longer, and yeah, but that's because I've rambled on about the cards. I've kind of talked about more cards. I like that because I get to explain more cards to you guys. So in that aspect, I'm explaining more cards, and I'm giving the more explanation for the cards. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. This is Pac-Man Does MTG signing off, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.